Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, then welcome. Thank you for stopping by and watching this video. Today, I think I'm going to be filming a guide to Poshmark. It's a lot of information to fit into one video, but hopefully I can condense it down and give you the basics without going into too much detail, but also, helping you out and maybe getting you on your way to starting your own closet or growing your closet. I think one of the big components with social media, and I think this includes Poshmark because Poshmark is a really social app. It's really what sets it apart from other selling apps. The main component is, oh, I want to get as many followers as I can. Followers are the answer. Followers are the most important. But with Poshmark, there really is no direct correlation between the amount of followers you have and how many sales you make. Now, obviously, if you have one follower versus a million, you're gonna sell more, if you have a million. But as far as 100 versus 500 versus 1,000 versus, 600,000, really what's going to get you, selling as much as you can is just the quality of the things you're selling and the quality of your closet as a whole. There are multiple accounts that have over 100,000 followers, and they don't make as many sales as someone with 10,000. And it really comes down to how you interact within the app and how you interact with other people and the friendships that you've made and the stuff that you're selling. There are people on Poshmark that have, 500,000 followers, but their inventory is older or it hasn't changed much in the last 6 months. They're not really focused on Poshmark. And then there's this person with 10,000 followers that is constantly selling things to parties, constantly involved, constantly commenting back and reaching out to people, and they're probably selling more because they're more involved. I truly believe that what makes you so successful on Poshmark comes down to just how you're interacting with people, and I do believe parties play a big role in your sales. Now, obviously, everybody's closet is different, and there are some people that I don't think they sell anything to parties. They just have a good relationship with the people on Poshmark and they make more sales. But for me personally, parties are how I make most of my sales. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I will explain all of that in just a second. But first of all, followers. You start out just trying to get followers like you would on any other social media, just telling people about it in person or online. But people tend to follow a lot quicker on Poshmark than they do, on Instagram. There is a lot of if you follow someone, they'll probably follow you back. That's really typical. Starting out, that's how I got some of my followers. But it really does come, pretty easy, especially if you already have things in your closet to sell. It's a little bit harder to get followers if you have nothing, because people only follow you to see your closet. So, that's important. But as you get more and more successful and you get more and more followers, and you're more involved in the community, you eventually will probably get the opportunity to ask to become a suggested user or get recommended as a suggested user. There's not really a set time where you can and cannot be one, but that does tend to happen to a more established Poshmark closet. I am a suggested user, and I think it happened around like 5,000 followers, and it really, just shot off from there, and I now have 20,000, and I would not have 20,000 if I wasn't a suggested user. But I am not making daily sales. 1,000 people is a lot of people, but I'm not making sales all the time. Granted, I'm not putting new items up for sale every single day because I have a ton that I need to sell right now, but I am making weekly sales, and to me that is a milestone and an accomplishment in and of itself. So I'm happy with where I am. Of course, I want to grow, but it just takes time and work and dedication. And that's really going to be what helps you grow your closet as well. As far as listing an item for sale, you want to make sure that your lighting is really good. Natural lighting is always the best, but I don't have great windows, so I do have a couple of umbrella lights that I use to supplement, and I will list those down below if you want to know what those are. They're not the best, but they get the job done. I really love them, and they're really big, but they do work really well. Natural lighting just helps disclose any imperfections within the pictures because that's really important. You want to be honest with your buyers. There's nothing worse than buying an item and thinking it's perfect and then getting it and to find out there's a hole in the seam and the person didn't tell you, that sucks. And, you know, that's the only way that a buyer can actually return an item on Poshmark. If it doesn't fit or you don't like it, it doesn't matter. You have to keep it. If you can document and prove that the item you purchased was not as described, then that's when the buyer can return the item. If Poshmark decides that, you know, the buyer is correct and the seller messed up, then they get their money back, and, you know, you're out of sale, and that really stinks, and you don't want to come off as dishonest either. So it really is important to be really honest within the pictures and the description as well. I like to include pictures of the imperfections, and then also in the description explain what it is and say in parentheses like picture number 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know, just so it's very clear. Look here, this is where the problem is. If you want to buy it, awesome, it's fully disclosed. So I mentioned parties earlier, and they are where people can share their items into a little group of people or a big group of people within the app, and it goes by categories like winter, summer, dresses, and then brands, and it's all different. I have 3 parties a day usually, and they all happen at the same time for everyone. But if like I'm in the Eastern time zone, so mine happen at 12 p.m., 3 p.m., and 10 p.m. But if you're on West Coast time, they'll happen at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., and 7 p.m. I've started to notice that there are now like 4 parties a day sometimes, so it really just depends, but usually it's just 3. You want to make sure that when you are sharing your items to parties that they really do fit the theme of the party. If it's a winter theme, you don't want to share summer clothing into that party, even if you technically are able to. Clutters the party and makes it harder for the people buying things to find, you know, what they're looking for. But the 10 p.m. party for me is where I make the majority of my sales. So I tend to lay in bed and share and share and share and share, you know, all of the things that apply to that party. And then I'll probably go to bed and then wake up, and I have a lot of activity within my closet, and that's, you know, really exciting to wake up to. So I would recommend just testing out the waters and figuring out which party for you gets the most activity within your closet. You don't have to be making sales for it to be working. You know, if people are just sharing, liking your items, following you more at a certain time, I would tend to focus more on that time block than the others. It doesn't mean you don't want to focus on the others, but I put the most of my time and effort into the 10 p.m. party. So along with parties, there are also host picks. There are party hosts, and they are, you know, sellers on Poshmark that had the opportunity to host a party. And they can pick items to go in a special section called host picks, and it just gets you a little bit more exposure on those items. I have actually only had one in my whole career on Poshmark, and it was really exciting to see it happen, and it really does get your item more exposure, which means, you know, more likely to sell. How you can go about getting a host pick is either the host will create a listing that says, you know, I'm looking for host picks, recommend items or closets, or they will just find them on their own. It's really out of your control, but if you do see posts like that, you know, feel free to comment and say, you know, hey, check out my closet, check out this particular item if you feel like it is worthy of a host pick. I see a lot of confusion with the retail versus new with tag category when selling your item, and the biggest thing for me is when I see a retail item, I think that is like an item I would buy at the store. Like it's brand new, straight from where it was created, and it hasn't been through multiple people's hands, you know, getting to the store. And when I see just regular new with tags, things that you've bought or that someone has, you know, purchased and they just never wore it and it's been sitting in their closet and they're trying to sell it as retail, that's not retail. Retail is brand new from the distributor, from the manufacturer, from the person that created the item. So you always want to make sure that you know the difference between retail and new with tag. New with tag is something that's brand new with tags, but you purchased it at a store, you know, at the mall, or it's been sitting in your closet and you've never worn it. That is new with tags. You'll also probably get quite a bit of comments on items that say PayPal or Mercari. One of the most frustrating things for me is when people will put Mercari, but they won't even type out the whole word. They just type MERC. No question mark, no words surrounding it. It's MERC. What does that mean? Like, can you at least like not be lazy and just put the question mark at the end? I mean, come on. But I always calm myself down and I say, no, don't go there. I just comment back and I say, I'm sorry, I don't sell anywhere else. Poshmark has a rule against selling things on Poshmark and then as well as another site. You're really not supposed to do that. I know you'll get a ton of people asking and you would probably make more sales if you did it, but if you want to be in good standing with Poshmark, it's always a better idea to just not do that, and just kind of shut down people that want it and either ignore or say, no, I don't do that. I don't really know how Poshmark can control that, but you know, if you do want to be in good standing, which means you get more opportunities on Poshmark, then just ignore or decline their offer. Another big component in having a successful closet is when you make a sale, always package your item really well. One of the ways people can rate your items after they've purchased them is through packaging. So I always wrap mine up in tissue paper. I put a ribbon around it and I add a little thank you note because I truly am so thankful for anyone that buys anything from my closet. You know, you're helping me buy something else from somebody else's Poshmark closet. And I love making sales, but I really love making people happy with the things that I sell. And, you know, packaging really plays a huge part in that. I really want the buyer to kind of feel like they got a little present in the mail. So I know that this was a very basic way of explaining Poshmark and it didn't go into too much detail. If there are any topics that I didn't cover, please feel free to leave them in the comments below and I would love to answer them. If you feel like there's a topic that I could make a whole separate video on, I will do that as well. I really wanted to, you know, get this out there just for people to see the basics and maybe start or grow their Poshmark closet. I've had such a good time with it, so I really kind of want to share that with other people, and I want the people that don't know about it to find out about it and maybe start a closet if they want to. I do have a code that will get both of us to $5, and it's not like, hey, sign up with my code and I get $1 million to buy a house. I'm just getting $5 to spend within Poshmark. I can only spend it within Poshmark. So I feel like it's really nice to like support each other and you know, we're both getting $5 to spend on somebody else's closet to help, you know, support them do whatever they want to do. So I will leave that code down below. I hope this video wasn't too all over the place and I do appreciate you watching. If you like this video, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you really like my videos in general, I would love it for you to subscribe. It is one of the best things, aside from making a sale on Poshmark, is getting a new subscriber. So thank you for watching this video and I will see you in my next one. Bye!